Hey everyone, I have to say something about the reported comments that Houston Texans owner Bob McNair made in a behind closed door meeting with NFL owners and executives, where he was alleged to have said, well, in an entire whole paragraph that I have not been able to read yet, said that we can't let the inmates guard the prison. And NFL Executive Vice President for Football Operations, Troy Vincent, was in the room reportedly and immediately stepped up and took issue with what Mr. McNair said, but he did apologize, did Mr. McNair, upon realizing, hey, that was not the right comment to make. I want to say something. Bob McNair is one of the finest people in the NFL I've ever had an occasion to meet. I've known Mr. McNair, as I call anybody who I regard as an authority figure, that's a lot of people, since 1999. I met him November 1st, 1999 at the NFL Fall Owners Meeting in Chicago at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare. I was there to pitch Oakland as the best Super Bowl host for the 2005 Super Bowl. Mr. McNair had just purchased the Houston Texans and was there to really get to know and meet the NFL owners and the NFL family and talk about how the Texans would enrich the NFL experience. When I met Mr. McNair, there was a table right in the middle of the ballroom. There was the table. And we didn't know anybody in the room at the time. I knew Amy Trask, who represented the Raiders, but Amy hadn't arrived yet. I knew Commissioner Tagliabue, as did Mr. McNair, but even he didn't arrive yet. We were among the first to walk into that room. So we recognized that neither one of us knew anybody else for the most part, and we sat together and started talking. We talked just about, little things like the trip, and then some big things like the Texans, and then favorite steaks and just stuff like that. I never, ever, during that conversation, got even a scintilla of an idea that Mr. McNair was racist. Not at all. Never. Then, when I started my media company, Bob McNair never once at all refused an interview with me. He always gave me his time, and he always recognized me. In fact, a number of owners would walk by me, and Bob would come by, shake my hand, ask me how I was doing. Bob McNair has always treated me as an equal. We were equal in terms of Super Bowl bidders. We were equal in terms of him being NFL owner and me being a member of the Fourth Estate, the media that covers the National Football League. So I really stress that Bob McNair is not racist. There are some who point out that he donated to the Trump campaign. That donating to the Trump campaign does not make one racist. There are some who only point that out and then the comment because they've got nothing else to hang their hat on. Someone else on Twitter put up some garbage information about another Robert McNair, who was governor of South Carolina, but they didn't bother to do any research at all, because if they had done even a little research, just a few seconds, they would have realized that Robert F. McNair was the governor of South Carolina who died in 2006. Not Bob McNair, who owns the Houston Texans, let alone Bob McNair, the African-American astronaut that was a first in that category for NASA in the world. So this has become absolutely ridiculous, this hanging on one word and using that one comment, that mistake, which Bob McNair admits was a mistake, to judge the whole of the person as being racist. Bob McNair is not racist. Bob McNair is not racist. Now, Draymond Green, the great Warriors player, put it, I think, very, very eloquently and very, very accurately. He said that in 2017, you can't use a figure of speech, because if he uses a figure of speech, he'll get fined. If he uses a figure of speech, social media will come down on him. The society will accuse him, and those who represent groups that were attacked by that figure of speech will come after him. So he says it's just not the right thing to do. He's absolutely right. However, this is the same Draymond Green who also invests in startups that are ran by those who are white. And there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. But my point is, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, also with the Warriors, the great player and NBA Finals MVP, and Andre Iguodala seek out startups ran by white entrepreneurs to invest in. They've never once put out a public call to invest in anyone black, like, for example, me and Zenny 62 Media. So what's this really all about? Okay? You have some people blasting Bob McNair for being racist who, in their instances, have never put a dime into a startup company ran by a black person. All right? You have others who say that Bob McNair made, quote, all that money, unquote, off the players, and they are only half correct. Because the big fat element that they either leave out by intent or by ignorance are the media companies that pay billions of dollars to make the NFL what it is right now. Humongously rich. That $21 billion media package that the NFL signed back in 2011, that one, which, among other things, gives ESPN the right to host, broadcast NFL games and have Monday Night Football, that package. Think about it. Those media companies make the owners rich and basically sit back and allow the owners to have these different points of view, and they do nothing about it. So we have Jamelia Hill rightly calling out the president for white supremacist leanings, and ESPN choosing to punish her, when in a point of fact, it's ESPN that makes organizations like the National Football League and like the Dallas Cowboys within it wealthy. Does anyone on social media blast ESPN for this? No. Does Sean King even mention ESPN in his Twitter outrage today? No, not at all. Not at all. But he should. The real problem here is that in 2017, black people do not invest in black people. We're more concerned still to this day about who you date than where your money goes. Who you are on a personal level than who you are on a professional economic level. That's why I criticize LeBron James for wearing that shirt that basically says, hey, white people, you're ignoring us while we protest. You ignore us black people. I hated the shirt because it put us in that typical position I'm tired of wanting something, begging, and acting like we're less than. That we're not in a position of power. At some point, someone's got to say enough is enough. If we had more black entrepreneurs, more people putting money in such that they were owners of the NFL, owners of ESPN, or owners of Zenny, or owners and investors in Zenny 62 Media, there wouldn't be this kind of outrage. It would be just, oh, you know, Bob made a mistake. But, and again, it would be someone black making that comment. Because as anyone who runs their own company knows, when a person makes the comment, inmates running the prison or asylum, what they're talking about is employees running your business. Sometimes I think that's a great thing. That's another long story regarding me and the company I started, my first one. But that's another conversation for another time. The fact of the matter is that we all know what that comment really, really means. To think that it actually means that someone is racist is completely foolish. It doesn't mean that at all. Subscribe. Okay, and this is a live stream, so I was looking for your comments, and Dorian says, I agree with you 100%, thank you. And Adam, thank you very much as well. And I'll be back, but I wanted to get this out on live stream and get it out quickly. and also get feedback as to what you all thought about this, because there's too much of the shaming on social media, and it's mindless. You know, it's completely ridiculous and absolutely crazy, and I really do wish it would stop. And I know that's a great wish, but you know, it's just outright ridiculous how quickly we take to social media and to blast somebody without thinking through what we're going to say before we do it. And this is a classic example of that. I mean, it's a classic example. Bob McNair is right, as Jorge Hernandez, one of my viewers, point out right now. It's an idiom that's been blown out of proportion, and not only that, to you know, something else too, folks. That, and I'll just say this: that was a comment that was made, and it really should not have hit the light of day like that. It was made behind closed doors in a meeting. Bob quickly took it back, but still he's being made to look like someone he's not. And I'll tell you something regarding Donald Trump. I was this close to being on The Apprentice, and had Donald Trump not went on that racist slant that he had, I'd have backed him in a second, okay? So, but what I'm saying here is this. We as black folks have to work on enriching ourselves, creating greater wealth for ourselves, and the athletes must lead the charge by investing in black startups. By stopping this, oh, woe is me thing. You know, Draymond Green, in an article I read, said that he and his players were bragging about which startup they were investing in and which one was going to pop first. Yeah, but I'll bet you all those startups are white. Not one of them is talking about anybody that, hey, happened to be African American. They met in Silicon Valley and they put money in, and their great app is taking off. And I know of at least one person for which that point about the great app and they're being black is true, okay? So I'm glad that McNair said this, because this is going to open up another conversation that's going to spill over on some of the people that are criticizing him. Some of the people who are criticizing him, and I say this, the Draymond Greens and the Andre Iguodala's of the world, love them, love what they do, but hey, look, you are basically contributing to the same climate that created this complaining about what Bob McNair said, the misunderstanding. Invest in black businesses. Invest in black startups. Thank you. And I'll be back with a longer live stream later.